week. Surveying has been a part of the advancement for civilization since the beginning of recorded history, and NCLUG is proud to offer our support in this industry. Today's webinar will be NCDOT's ORD implementation update, followed by NCSS outreach. But first, some housekeeping details. The webinar is a presentation, so all attendees will be muted. At any time during the webinar, you can submit your questions in the chat box. As time allows, the presenters will be addressing questions as they can during the Q&A session at the end of each presentation. Any questions not addressed in the first presentation will be addressed during our Thursday's roundtable discussion. We will be recording this webinar and will share the link after the event. NCLUG is offering PDH credits to those who have registered on this website for this event. After the NCLUG will send out PDH receipts to those who have attended the live meeting. No credit will be given to those who have viewed the recorded presentation. Now I would like to introduce Jeff Garland and Emory Kincaid with NCDOT as our first presenters today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really excited to present today. For those that don't know me, my name is Jeff Garland, and I've been with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for collectively about a decade. I've been a couple different positions over the last 20 years, but good to be here today. We're openly talking about several things during the Surveyors Week, but I'm just going to tee up Emory to do his technical presentation around what we're doing with the new ORD platform and on the Connect platform for Bentley on the location and survey side. Certainly Emory and his team have done a great job as far as embracing the software and really working on that paradigm shift. So for me, just to kind of get things going here, just want to give a quick overview of the presentation. So really, I'm going to give a short background on what the ORD implementation initiative is, talk about some of the strategic direction that the North Carolina DOT is taking as far as really moving forward with embracing the software, and talk about some of the test and pilot projects we're working on. And then I'll turn over to Emory to do a live demonstration of working through the NCDOT Survey Connect workspace and pulling up ORD. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. But all in all, it's going to be a pretty short presentation from my side, so I can tee up Emory for more time for his. Just to give a quick background on what ORD is, just in case for those that don't know, the OpenRoad design platform is really a comprehensive modeling environment. And I put this video up in the background to kind of walk through a couple different things. But it truly provides construction-driven engineering to really help accelerate our project delivery of our road networks. It tries to really unify design and construction processes from truly the concept to completion, and the application provides completed detailed design capabilities. It does a lot of really wonderful things. You can look at drainage, subsurface utilities, all sorts of different pieces that work through this. It does a number of things that takes what was previously done in the microstation V8I world, and it supersedes all those capabilities brought in from that. Some of the things we'll walk through and what Emory's looking to show is trying to understand how to take a full three-dimensional design element piece and draw it into all our different design templates as we drive this forward. So I'll move forward past this video, but it really shows a lot of different things out there. And if you're interested in learning more about ORD, there's a ton of stuff out there on the web, obviously. But for us specifically at the North Carolina DOT, it's been a journey for about the last 5 years. We started in roughly around 2016 with a lot of awareness around it. A lot of the roadway design unit folks, including Oak and others, really kind of did some of the initial workspaces and the original kind of get out of the gate to work with Bentley on devising this. And it's been quite a process. But this year, specifically 2021, and certainly the 2022 is really around implementation. And then we really even see an anticipated trying to work towards a model delivery rather than our traditional 2D plans, somewhere to where out 2023, 2024, we're working towards that and seeing what that may look like in the future. It's a really big paradigm shift. I'll fly this slide pretty quickly, but in essence, what we've currently been doing design to produce those cross sections, plan, profile, is really moving towards developing a model now, and where the sheets are kind of an incidental at the back end, whereas what we're currently doing is generating a model from our plan, profile, cross section work, and that's a big change. And so it's a big mind shift and a paradigm shift for the department. I've had the pleasure of working with a number of different folks throughout the state on this implementation initiative. Emory and the location survey side is really part of the working group that handles a lot of the coordination on the technical side from the surveyors piece. And there's a lot of work to be done. Within DOT, we have about 100 folks in all 14 divisions and across all central that are really driving this forward right now. Testing, piloting the software, learning how to kind of take that paradigm shift to use 3D modeling for our purposes here in North Carolina. Obviously, there's a lot of heavy Bentley coordination because it's not just OpenRoad's Designer, it's a lot of other software pieces within that we're really trying to unify the whole Bentley suite of products for the benefit of our taxpayers here in North Carolina. We take a lot of test projects. This is just an example of one test project we're doing where internally we're taking existing projects that we've done in SS2 and SS4, seeing if we can replicate the work and how it works in ORD. So we've been testing that out, and now it's time to really get to production type projects. So we're actively working with the industry and doing some current pilot projects where we're using ORD for our production plans. They're smaller division managed type bridge projects in other areas, but really trying to use ORD from start to finish, including the survey side on how we generate our files and how we ultimately generate plans out of the get-go. Because the initial rounds will be producing pretty much that traditional 2D flat black and white PDF type plans, and that's okay as we move to the new ORD software. And at the end of the day, we're really trying to use all those internal folks I mentioned to really coordinate with the industry, both on the design side and the construction side, on what is the best way we can all work together to do this. We do keep a website that's current. So if you're watching the video on the back end, or if you have any questions, we're trying to keep this updated as best we can about the progress for the department. And really next steps for NCDOT around this is this year of 2021 is all about the implementation phase, really trying to move off of SS2, SS4 work we've been using around MicroStation V8i and using ORD for all new design projects starting as early as this summer. And so we're hashing through those details right now, but more to come on that. And then, as I mentioned, out in the future, another year or two, really maybe start target some of those piloting of model delivery for projects. And that's going to be a interesting thing to work with the construction. We are coordinating with AGC and other construction firms and industries to really understand how that can possibly work. The reason we're doing all this, one of the main benefits is we're trying to capture upfront, early on in the concept design, preliminary design phase, any kind of conflicts, design changes before it gets out in the field. As we all know, once we hit the construction side, our ability to affect change and cost, it costs a lot if you actually physically hit a pipe, hit a water main. The more we can better do to map the survey piece on the front end will enable better use of taxpayer dollars, and we won't be paying for things on the back end. We're trying to catch it early is the gist of things. Those benefits for our designers is we're trying to really see underneath and above ground all these surveying type pieces to ideally have that three-dimensional design, almost replica of what is out in the field for our design work. And that's really what we're trying to do as a department. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Emory now to go through this slide and pull up a live use of the workspace that we're doing, and then we'll come back and we'll be sure to answer any questions you may have, and there's certainly an email address out there as well. But I'm going to pause and turn it back over to you, Emory, for this slide and take over the screen.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. You know, when I first started this, me and Jeff talked about what I needed to place, and I chose one slide. And shortly after that, I said, you know, how do I really describe what has went on with our workspaces in the last 5 years? It's a lot to cover in just a little bit. but wanted to hit the highlights. First off, NC Map. I know that a lot of our users are accustomed to using NC Map. However, it's not going to exist in ORD. In fact, no MDL applications will exist. The biggest reason for that is the fact that we just don't have anybody to keep up these programs, to maintain them. That's been our biggest issue. Plus, by going and trying to use the in-the-box utilities that Bentley has in place, we're going to be able to draw from anything they do in the system to make it a little bit better. And a lot of times you don't think about this, but not having a GPK behind you and everything being stored in that DGM file gives you a lot of reason to pause and to not understand exactly what's going on there. One of the things that we've always done in the past is we give you 3 deliverables. That's been our 3 main deliverables anyhow. We always delivered a final survey, which was a 2D file, a DTM file, which was a 3D file, and then also a 10 file, which is basically a binary file that connected those triangles up. Moving forward in ORD, we're going to go, or we hope to go to 1 final survey file, which will encompass everything. It will have a 3D model in it for the 3D items. It'll have a 2D model in it, and it'll also have the terrain model, which was the 10 of old. Our workspace now is currently probably about 90 to 95% complete. And to be honest with you, with all the changes that we're having to do, I don't think we're ever going to hit 100% for quite some time. You know, because I do expect that we're going to have to make some changes depending on what we do in the future on the design end of things to help them out. We've had a large number of people working on our workspaces. I do want to call out Tim Merrill. Tim really laid the base out for us to work on and have put us on good solid footing for that. There's a few things that are still not working quite right. Our 3D linear annotation somehow got broken in this last release, so we're waiting on a new release for that to fix that. Most all our work that is completed now is for the initial aspects of when we do surveys. So there's some things that we're going to have to clean up on our right-of-way sheet implementation, as well as the property surveys. Let me show you a file real quick here. I'm going to share my screen out, Jeff, now. I thought the easiest thing to do was show you a file. We have been working now for probably about 8 months testing this, and we feel very good with the results that we're getting. But as you see, when you first initially look at this file, it looks very similar to what we would have done in V8. The exception being, if we come up here to models, you'll see that we've got a 3D model in here, which is our default model. And then we've got a 2D model that holds the 2D aspects, basically our property and our existing alignment. What that has then done is it's attached just like any other file, so we can turn our properties on and off. One of the things that we're hoping to do for any of you who use the PropCon database, that is being rewritten now, and what we're hoping to do is pre-populate that PropCon database from GIS, so it no longer has to have the information keyed in. And on the tail end of things, using item types inside of ORD, we are planning on pre-populating all this text, so it'd be something that you wouldn't have to key in. The biggest difference you'll see here is you've got this surrounding the project. And what that is your 10 hull. So we have the ability that we can come in here and click, and we can turn on our triangles or turn on our contours, whatever we want. In this case, I'll turn on the triangles. And typically what we do is we keep this in the wireframe mode, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my display style and put that in the illustration modeling. It just gives you a much better idea of what we're going to be able to do with this 3D information. Here you'll be able to see there's the bridge deck, your creek underneath. We can even pull it up and you'll see basically the cross-sectional view there going in. Some of our line work will be a little odd in the fact that the elevation won't be quite as good as you think it might be. So in some instances you may see, for example, this tree line, if we pull it over here on its side, this happens to be a job that's out east. This tree line was developed off of ortho mapping. So it's setting in an elevation at 0. So on occasion you'll see something floating a little high, something that may be a little low, but anything that's a DTM feature should be a very accurate elevation. Anyhow, this is a good way for a surveyor to really come in and start getting a feel for what they collected and where they might possibly need to do some editing. You know, I think we've all run into issues where people get a little confused looking at just contour lines. Show you another example here, and this is a job up in Asheville, and this has simply just been processed. There's been no cleanup done on this. But I wanted to show you because of the contour relief, you can see very well what's going on. If we look in here, we'll be able to see our pipes. So there's our pipe. It's showing correctly in 3D space, and it's also drawn at the diameter of the actual pipe. And that occurs for all our piping. We move to the other end over here. You'll be able to see here the pipe hits the surface, and you'll see the pipes are definitely underneath. What you see here, like I said, this hadn't been cleaned up any. This is a catch basin, so you can see it. And you can follow the pipe networks. These are just solid elements. That's why they don't look exactly like a pipe. For the purposes of what we want to do as far as relaying information, I feel that's all that's necessary, which you'll see there. So there's piping. One of our challenges going forward is going to be our SUE data. We really want to put that SUE data in the correct 3D space. And unfortunately, that's not as easy as it sounds. You know, we know where the utility is if we do a test hole. Between the test holes, we have no real idea. We can go through generalities to determine that, but it's not going to be exact. So how do we show that in 3D space and also make it absolutely certain that, hey, that is an approximate elevation. People are pretty passionate about it, whether they're for or against it, but it's something we really need to work out. And that's a bigger challenge than a lot of us think, because that really needs to come down from the chief engineer's office, because this is something that the whole department's going to have to be aware of. But that's one of our biggest challenges right now. And that's really all I had to show you. Like I said, in a short amount of time, it was really hard to determine what to show, but I wanted to give you an idea of what we were looking at delivering, and perhaps that will lead to some questions.
Thank you for that, Emory. And just to open it wide open, Tonya, I'm not sure how you want to take over or field any questions, but Emory and I are certainly here to address any questions that anyone may have.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff and Emory. I think your presentation was excellent as far as preparing everybody, kind of feeding them some information so that they can formulate some questions. We were planning on taking some questions to anybody who wanted to put them in the chat box, but I also know that we have time so that Christy can do her presentation as well. Perhaps we should just request the questions be compiled and formulated for the Thursday discussion that we're having. Jeff, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to participate in that. Emory, we do have you coming on Thursday, is that correct?
That's right.
And
Okay.
I will be there too on Thursday. I think that's a great idea. No, we welcome the opportunity on Thursday.
Yeah, because I think it's going to take some time for people to digest the information they just saw. I know I'm quickly formulating all my questions, writing it down on a piece of paper here. So that's what we'll do. We'll compile and have a better, like, organized discussion. It might be a little chaotic as well on Thursday, but just to have everybody revisit us on Thursday for the roundtable discussion on